Every drop of medicine in 17th-century London held the potential for death. But in the winter of 1678, a series of unexpected fatalities among the city's elite revealed a conspiracy so calculated that it would shake the foundations of English medicine for centuries to come. The story begins not with a murder, but with a funeral. Sir William Coventry, advisor to King Charles II, was laid to rest after a brief but violent illness. His symptoms had been peculiar severe stomach cramps, metallic taste, blue-tinged fingernails, and in his final hours, a terrible clarity of mind despite his failing body. Physicians called it a wasting disease, yet those close to him whispered of something more sinister. Within 6 weeks, 4 more prominent figures succumbed to similar symptoms. Lady Margaret Fanshawe, wife of a diplomat, Richard Wiseman, the king's own surgeon, Thomas Sydenham, a physician who had pioneered new treatments for smallpox, and Elizabeth Cellier, a midwife known for her political agitation. 5 deaths, 5 pillars of London society, 5 individuals who shared only one connection. They had all patronized the same apothecary shop in the shadow of St. Paul's Cathedral. This establishment belonged to Jonathan Blackwell, a man who had risen from obscurity to become one of London's most sought-after apothecaries. His remedies were said to work when others failed. His clientele included the aristocracy, the wealthy merchant class, and even members of the royal household. His knowledge of chemistry and botany was unparalleled, perhaps dangerously so. In an era before regulated medicine, apothecaries were both chemists and physicians, mixing remedies based on ancient formulas and their own innovations. They worked with some of the deadliest substances known to humanity: arsenic, belladonna, hemlock, and mercury. The line between cure and poison was vanishingly thin, and only the apothecary's integrity stood between a patient and an agonizing death. The investigation began discreetly. Robert Hooke, natural philosopher, architect, and member of the Royal Society, had been a friend of Sir William. Troubled by the pattern of deaths, he began collecting evidence. Samples from Blackwell's shop, testimonies from servants who had administered the medicines, even exhuming one victim's body despite the taboos against such practices. What Hooke discovered was chilling. Blackwell had been methodically poisoning select patients with carefully calibrated doses of antimony, a metallic element used in small quantities as an emetic, but deadly in larger amounts. The poison was administered not all at once, but gradually through multiple prescriptions, ensuring that symptoms mimic natural disease progression. But the true horror lay in Blackwell's motives. Court records revealed that each victim had recently altered their will, adding substantial bequests to medical research, specifically to a foundation controlled by Blackwell himself. The apothecary had been killing to fund his experiments, viewing his victims as necessary sacrifices for scientific advancement. The evidence was overwhelming. Yet on the eve of Blackwell's arrest, something extraordinary happened. He vanished. His shop was found empty, his equipment gone, his records burned. More disturbing still were reports that 3 royal guards had escorted him from his premises in the dead of night. Here, history grows murky. Some accounts suggest Blackwell had powerful protectors, perhaps even the king himself, who valued his pharmaceutical knowledge too much to see him executed. Others claim he had discovered a treatment for the king's recurring ailments that made him indispensable despite his crimes. The most tantalizing clue comes from a letter found in the Royal Society archives, dated 1683, 5 years after Blackwell's disappearance. Written by an anonymous correspondent in the American colonies, it mentioned a physician newly arrived from England whose methods with metals and minerals are most advanced. though his past practice is shrouded in controversy. Was this Blackwell, granted a new life across the Atlantic in exchange for his knowledge? Did the Crown prioritize medical advancement over justice? And how many other patients died before and after the 5 who brought his crimes to light? To this day, no one knows for certain what became of London's poisoner Apothecary. His case remains one of the earliest documented instances of serial murder for profit, a grim reminder that in 17th century London, medicine and murder sometimes flowed from the same bottle.